Today I've decided to do a small copper picture on a 8x10 canvas. I'll be doing it in acrylic, but I'm starting with a charcoal sketch. I'm not terribly concerned about the charcoal contaminating the pigments a lot of times, and it would be a concern, but with this demonstration then it's nothing for me to be terribly concerned about. As I said, what I'm trying to do now is set in the darks. I like to work from dark to light, and this video ended up being about 15 minutes long after editing. Initially, the painting was done in 44 minutes. I'm working outside under the palapa. It's warm, but there's a nice wind blowing. There may be some ambient noise you can hear coming in, the birds, and I can hear the drone of the traffic a bit. There's a bunch of carpenter bees attempting to bore the cedar. Who I've been competing with them for the most of the day today, and so some of them are a little annoyed at me, and they may show up even in the video at times. But what I'm doing now is basically setting in scales or tiles of color. And one thing about the acrylic, I've added a solvent to it that makes the paint flow a little thinner. It's a Liquitex medium, and it works well. I clean the brushes in water, of course, but the medium, when I mix it with the pigment, it allows it to flow easier off the brush, so I can control what is being placed on the canvas, and it also allows it to dry a little quicker, which gives me an opportunity to almost use a glazing effect. It's not the same as a glaze, but it's very similar, and I'm working now to get some colors on. I've did some on the background. I'm using a sap green and a alizarin crimson on that background. Now with this painting, I'm suggesting that the light is coming in from the right, and so my highlights on my picture will be on the right side. The left side will be darker. So to complement that, I'm allowing the right side of the background to be darker, and that'll allow my highlights to pop a little better. The left side of the background is lighter, which is going to enhance the effect of the shaded area, the shadows on the back side of the picture. I'm also setting this picture precariously close to the edge of the table. Now, I've seen that done in one of Caravaggio's paintings, which I thought was kind of cool, so I'm attempting to do that here. It kind of puts it in a genre all by itself, which means that not just everybody would want a painting with the picture about to fall off the table. So anyway, I'm doing it that way because I'm experimenting with it a bit. The tablecloth, I'm going to leave it kind of lacy looking. It's let's call it a linen tablecloth. It's cooler toward the back of the table, and I'm warming it up a bit as it comes to the front. And now the top edge of the picture is kind of rolled to take away any sharp edge, so I'm kind of alluding to that. And under that rolled edge, there's a bit of a shadow. I've worked on that some. I'm kind of setting the highlights now along the right side. I also want to incorporate some of the background colors in to some areas of this. You can see it's kind of happening now. I'll separate it again with a lighter line in a minute, but right now that lost line is an effect that people have been using for many years to kind of put more emphasis on the focal point. And the focal point on this is the highlights. Now, As I said, this is a hammered copper as opposed to a smooth piece of metal. Hammered means that there's individual cells or tiles that are flat, that are reflecting light slightly differently than the adjacent flat planes. And so I'm placing those in now. I'm using alizarin crimson as the background, and I've kind of pulled in some teal as a complementary color to that. And working this back edge now, the left side edge, I'm using some alizarin crimson mixed with burnt sienna, defining that top and looking for a shadow under there. The spout itself will be dark right under the spillway part, but as we move back just a half inch or so from that right-hand spill, then we're beginning to, well, we will begin to pick up some of the reflection of the tablecloth and the picture body itself. So right in there, we need to lighten it up a bit to imply a reflection. And you're always going to have some color deviations where the planes are allowed to reflect the surroundings. Here's some highlights. I want to kind of allude to the shape of the vessel. Generally, I paint the strokes, which is not terribly apparent right now, but the strokes follow the shape of the vessel or the container. And we'll get to that in a minute. I'll kind of wrap it around, but now I'm not at that point. There's light coming in from and back of the viewer, and it could be a window or just a door or something. This is kind of maybe a window, and here's another window that's allowing that light to shine in on that front surface, the right surface. And so I want to make it not too apparent, just kind of disperse the light as it comes away from the edge a bit. Then those spots are a little too pronounced. I want to get some reflection up there. I want to pick up some indication of a light being picked up right above my finger there. And in a minute, I'll come back with a yellow ochre and off-white blend. Now those were a bit too dominant, so I'm going to spread them out a little and bring this edge back around toward the other spots that we see, the other reflections, and kind of brush it in to imply that it is not a smooth flat surface, but a hammered surface. And then I want to reinforce some of the light areas, some of the reflections, and some of the really light surfaces. Again, I'm letting it dry now so I can come back in on top of it and not be wet into wet. That is maybe a little too light for that. I'll try to pull it down some. And the picture actually kind of spreads at the top, so that's reflecting the lower part of the picture. So we're getting some reflections there. Now I'm working now with the alizarin crimson, which is kind of a cool copper color if you put a bit of burnt sienna with it, and glazing in on top of what has mostly dried up. And so I'm able to pull across. Now if I pull once, I have a glaze. If I pull twice, then I've removed the bottom coat as well. So that's why I'm being a bit slow at getting back on certain areas. Once again, emphasizing the highlights a bit more where I think they might be. I still want to get a little something happening right on that top edge right there. A little little bit. I don't want it to look like it's glass or something, so just an indication of some light being picked up. And now I want to try to reinforce the shape of the handle and of the vessel itself by wrapping the colors slightly around the vessel itself, and just blending and looking for any patterns that are repetitions in shapes and colors that I think would be disruptive to the hammered copper effect that I'm going for. And then it gives me a chance now to play with the shape, to give us a little more interest on that top lip. And I think I've kind of messed up my reflection on the top. I may try to get a little more highlight right up on that top lip there. Let's see here. I think that will come over that with a little cast shadow and define that shape, make it a little more interesting. It was a bit too flat. The handle is still needs to be darkened up right on the underside of the handle itself. Maybe I can get, there you go. And it's beginning to be fairly convincing looking to me, so I don't want to disturb too many things. Once again, I'm hesitating on certain areas to allow them time to dry and go back and kind of reinforcing what I believe might be there. I'm not working from a model or a picture. This is just from memory or ad-libbing or living or whatever you want to call it. And I find that it works good for me, allows me flexibility and creativity that may be restricted a little bit by shape. It doesn't work for everything, but for something like this, like I said, I have several hammered copper pieces in the studio that I've practiced painting before, so I kind of have the shape, but I don't have this particular picture, and I wanted to try it without looking at anything. It kind of sets me free, you might say, and that is a technique that I enjoy a lot. And here I'm blending once again, which is kind of pulling things together to get rid of some sharp edges and yet not destroying the sub painting underneath the substrata of the picture. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this, and if you like it and would like to see more, let me know. I'm going to be working on developing a YouTube channel and doing these demonstrations once a week or so, and it'll be a particular topic, and any suggestions. I'm always open to critiques, and tell me what I can do to make it look better. I know the gas can or mineral spirits buckets and a few things like that has to go, but that is something that I will refine as I develop my video recording techniques. Thank you.